Welcome to Jurassic Park. Actually, welcome to Can't Recommend Enough. Today's guest is Graham Allen, a good friend of mine who once, in passing, asked me if we could clone dinosaurs, should we? So I brought him on the show today to further explore that. And little did we both know that that would blow open so many doors. This is a long one, but I guarantee you by the end it will all come together and make sense, and we'll have a satisfying answer to that question. But in the kind of middle section, we're going to be talking about zombies, kindness and selfishness, meditation, the reticular activating system, law of attraction, basic human emotions and needs and everything. I mean, we really get into it. So stick around and enjoy. We're going to start off by, right now, we're drinking a whiskey.
Oh, yes.
It's a Scotch whiskey.
Yes.
That's with a Y at the end, not an EY. It's a Scotch.
Oh, yes, yes.
And where did you get this Scotch from?
Yeah, so for the frugal gentlemen, lords and ladies out there, we've got it's a Kirkland signature. So this is a blended Scotch whiskey, 80 proof, but it's a gold medal 90 points. So I found it online. I found it on Reddit. It was one of Costco's best finds. The whole handle's like $22, bro.
$22 for a handle.
For a 90-point Scotch whiskey, I figure, it's worth its time. So I'm more of a bourbon guy, so it was a little bit of a change to move over to Scotch, but I'm enjoying it, especially with these cigars.
Yes, indeed. And we're smoking Nub Cameroons. So this is my recommendation for Graham here. And Graham recommended this for me. And his whiskey was actually a recommendation as well, right? Somebody recommended this to you.
Reddit.
Reddit. All right. All right. And you're drinking yours on the rocks.
Yes, okay. Yes.
And I'm drinking mine neat.
Yes.
I'm going full tilt boogie.
Yeah, maybe we'll flip sides on the next one.
Although
either way, I'm sure the second one will go down a little smoother.
Oh, yeah. All right. So we're ready.
Yeah.
Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Okay. So the
Fire
conversation that's kind of come to a head as of late is we're finding more and more under the ice. As the ice is melting, as we're finding more geological remains, we're finding new animals, and at some point we're going to get to a point where we're going to find exactly what we're finding in Jurassic Park, right? We're going to find the dinosaur DNA. And when that becomes the situation, so my question was very individualized. So let's say you are that geologist, okay? You are the guy who finds the mosquito. It's real life, bro. This is you. Do you turn it in? You don't know what's going to happen with it. You get to be the scientist. You get to try to mess around with it, but as soon as you bring it to the public, it's outside of your control. So, do you bring it up?
Okay, so I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
I'm a scientist that knows what I'm doing. I can take this amber with the mosquito in there or whatever it is that's preserved the mosquito, and I can get together a team to fill in the missing genes.
Yeah.
Get it all into fruition and make it happen. Do I do it? So the question is basically
actually, I'm going to bring it back to the basics, right?
Uh-huh.
You're the geologist, or let's even just say you're the billionaire, okay? Mm-hmm. You're the billionaire that has funded this research. Boom, now you have it. You have the research,
mm-hmm.
And you have the money. So, yeah, you're John Hammond.
I'm John Hammond.
You are John Hammond.
Okay. All right, that changes things.
Yeah, no, that's what I want, because here's the thing. The science, once it gets out there, people are going to go after it, right? People are going to try to steal it. People are going to try to copy it. People are going to get the genome. People who work on it, are they going to leave and go to other companies? There's a certain amount of this. You are going to lose control. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Okay.
So there's a lot to take in.
It's funny because when you posed this question to me before, and the reason why we're doing this is because we never really got into it all the way.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of on the fly,
it was
in passing, and for whatever reason, we never
very rudimentary.
Saw through. Yes. So I was under the impression that I was me and that what my thoughts would be on this whole thing, whether I would think, should we do it or shouldn't we? Like, it's a matter. I thought it was, if we could, should we?
Yeah,
But
well, I mean,
this
that's
is an
essentially
interesting
the
take.
concept.
Okay, so I'll give you 2 points of view.
It's John Hammond's view. It's your view. It's if you're in that spot, right? I'm just saying that because he was the authority structure, right? He was the one who was officially going to either kill it or let it fly, and that's you right now.
Okay, so as John Hammond, yes, all the way. Now, which John Hammond? Are we talking about John Hammond in the book or John Hammond in the movie?
Just you.
Oh,
you
just
are
me.
in John Hammond's situation.
I'm in John Hammond's. Okay,
But
so I'm
you.
I'm the rich financier.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
An angel dropped you into his position, so now it's your soul, your personality, and you're just like, hey, John Hammond took a shitty thing, and so they took him out
Now,
of you, and you're in that spot.
Is this like we've seen? Does Jurassic Park exist in this world? Like as
Right
far
now.
as no, as far as the movie, have we seen the movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything is normal.
So we know
This happens right now.
We know the downfalls of the series.
Yeah.
and still there's an opportunity.
But again, it's just a series, right?
Yeah.
And just so we have an impact as to how, and we talked about this actually in a similar discussion with friends, but in a Jurassic Park scenario, right? We all remember the raptors for the nostalgia, and my friend ruined this for me, and so hopefully I can ruin it for all of you.
Go ahead and ruin away.
Those raptors, right? Those are one of the coolest animals from the Jurassic Park series.
By far.
Do you know how tall raptors actually are?
Not that tall.
Take a guess.
So in Jurassic Park, they are closer to human height, correct?
They're
your average human?
6 to 7 feet, 6 to 9 feet.
Oh,
I'd
really?
say.
Okay.
They're pretty big. Well, yeah. So I'm trying to think. Right, they get through the doors, right, but they have to duck a little bit. I'm thinking the kitchen.
Yeah.
Something that's a 7-foot door. Boom, they slide under. I'm just doing some rough goes there. So let's say they're 8 foot tall.
Okay. In real life, they're about what, 4 feet?
They're like 3 feet
3
tall,
feet?
bro.
Okay.
They're like coyotes.
All right.
Also, they have feathers instead of scales, right?
But that was always the contention point, whether they were scales versus feathers anyway. But
yeah, but scales are a whole lot scarier.
yeah, definitely.
Right? So you got a 7-foot scaly dinosaur running around that
With a
are
big sharp
intellectual
claw.
hunters with
Yeah.
these huge claws. In actuality, you got some angry coyotes running around. You know, I mean, yeah, they're scary,
Clever
but
girl.
you know, you're not gonna. It's not what you think it is, right?
Yeah, but
so
they're
with
pack
that
hunters.
concept, like the scariness of the movies is also somewhat of a falsity, right? So is the fear that you're looking at, the alternative, isn't that also built on fiction?
Yes. Okay. So
Now you killed us all.
I think I'm going to answer it in this way. Personally, the selfish side of me wants to see a Jurassic Park scenario.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see a dinosaur. Ever since I was a kid,
Yeah.
I've wanted to see a dinosaur, right? And especially since my kids are growing up. My son is 2 right now. He hasn't hit his full dinosaur phase. If he could see one in real life, I mean, that would blow his mind, you know? So selfishly, yes, I'd want to see it. Are there pitfalls? Yes. But I think we'd have to, if we're using Jurassic Park as a template, we kind of got an idea of what not to do. But then again, so did they, and they keep on screwing it up. So
This is the Death Star scenario.
it is. It really
If
is.
you believe in universal consciousness, then Jurassic Park is going to happen because
Yeah.
we've already built it.
So, yeah, I would like to see it all the way. I think it would be, and I have more questions about it. As a financier, and actually, this is something I've always wondered. How much
The
do you think?
liability alone. No, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, yeah, insurance, liability.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be
Through
through
the
the roof. Yeah. The other thing is, how much are you selling tickets for? Have you ever wondered that? Like, how much was a ticket to Jurassic Park?
I think it's like anything, right? I think you
think it's gonna be more than Disney World?
I think you put in just the millionaires at first, right? So you gradually put people in. So it's going to cost, $20,000 to get in,
Okay.
and then you go down from there, right? It's the same.
So we're
thing
taking
with
like a
VR,
Moon or
it's
a
the
Mars
same-
approach, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a Tesla approach.
I think it's funny that take that approach because the person that I am, I don't want to be the first one anyway. I want them to work out the kinks. Like I never buy technology right away because I want them to have time to work out the kinks.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it with like PlayStations, where the first couple, first beginning versions of them have been bad.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
So like going to the moon, going to Mars, definitely don't want to be the first there because they haven't fully worked it out with people and getting it happen. I want to take some time and just kind of see how it works and what happens and how safe it is. From the John Hammond perspective, I think if we're talking about John Hammond in the movie, if I was that type of John Hammond, he did have a love for the dinosaurs and he had a love for his grandchildren. He wanted to create a place like that to astound the world, right?
Well, I mean, I only wanted you to use John Hammond's position. I don't need you to put yourself in his personality.
Well, there's two personalities to John Hammond because John Hammond in the book is a totally different John Hammond than the one that's on the screen. The John Hammond in the book is the more money-motivated financier. He's the guy
so
that...
he's like the lawyer.
He is.
All right.
The lawyer took a lot of his traits. So that John Hammond that's in the book, he's more like, if things went wrong, it's not his fault. It's all the other idiots who are below him that are making... And he knows it's going to turn out right somehow, but he's not too concerned. I don't even think his grandchildren, he really cares too much about them. So the one in the movie, he's a little bit different. I would be...
So he's much more narcissistic.
He is. He's more like, hey, I created this, I made this happen, and people are just messing it up. Where in the movie, totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would be the movie John Hammond, and that's what I liked about him is he wanted to just create this place of wonder that everybody could enjoy. The dream of every child and going into adulthood is to see dinosaurs.
So the fact that he killed hundreds of people is besides the point because at least he was genuine about it.
Yeah, if you're going to kill that many people, you got to be genuine, right? No.
So what you're saying is I need to feel better about the fact that I really want to see these dinosaurs. So I really want the John Hammond effect.
I guess you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet, right?
Exactly. I mean, hey.
Think about this. He made a backup island just in case that island went to hell, right? So he knew that something could go down on this island. So I guess he wasn't entirely innocent, right?
Yeah, I think if you have like a Tesla approach to life, like an Elon Musk approach, like you're only here for so much time. You need to just make stuff happen. Like just go full board, make it happen. I don't really care about the human cost because it's trite.
Well, humans are always going to find a way to mess things up, right?
I mean, it's a very...
There's always going to be that one guy reading Harry Potter in the back seat while the car's driving him, right?
It's a very fatalistic view, but at the same time, I mean, it encourages huge growth from a technological stand.
It does.
Or even from a societal standpoint, if you're willing to, as you would say, break some eggs.
Yeah. I don't know. See, I think... And I think they explored this a little bit more. To tell you the truth, I didn't really care for the sequels too much, especially the newer ones like Jurassic World and what was the other one? Jurassic.
Oh, dude, you didn't. Oh, wait, no, I did not like. Wait, I didn't mind Jurassic World. I wasn't a fan of the third Jurassic Park.
Dude, that was terrible.
Yeah. Now the second one, I loved.
Second one's great, especially
Jeff Goldblum, Raptors. I mean, you got to love all of it. Right?
Bringing the T-Rex to San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, it was
awesome. Yeah,
it was great.
So good, and it was Steven Spielberg too. So yeah. All right. And the reason why I bring up the most recent sequels is because they were looking to weaponize the dinosaurs, right?
Okay.
And that was one of the things that I was thinking about. You're talking about the consequences of this technology or the idea of doing this, right? So weaponization is one. But I thought about another ridiculous side of it too, which is, would you eat a dinosaur?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, right?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Now, do you think that there would be like a hunting industry for dinosaurs too?
Oh, dude, I'd eat dinosaur meat. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be a farmed out thing first, and then you'd kind of move on to, like, yeah, you can go out and hunt them, right? You can go onto an island, and then then you got Jurassic Park. That's and there you are.
I think so, right? I think they'd want to kind of milk it for all it's worth, right? And
That's
there'd
the thing,
be
like,
big game hunters who'd want to hunt dinosaurs.
There is only a matter of time, and what you pretend the FDA is going to be able to hold back here, they're not going to hold back in Russia. So anybody who really wants to just get stuff done, go to Siberia and make it happen. Right? Go to China and really go where they don't really care about morality.
Well, even in
not to say that that's the case, but obviously the government is making. Sorry, we're dovetailing.
Well, in Jurassic Park anyway, that doesn't take place on American soil. That's I think off of Costa Rica, an island off of Costa Rica, right?
Yes.
So that's its own territory and
but where
by its own rules.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about government control.
And probably with that kind of money, you can have your own government on an island anyway.
It's his own island. Right? That's the way to do it.
Yeah. But
I think that's Dr. Zhivago. I don't know. It's a little before my time. But
yeah.
I think that same idea.
Okay. I don't think I've seen
he
that.
has his own island with all these animals. And maybe not. Maybe
I think you're thinking of the island of Dr. Moreau.
Maybe that. Yeah. See, we were getting there. You were getting there with me. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another drink of that scotch.
Go get a scotch. All right. So I was also thinking, okay, and it's funny because when I was thinking of weaponization, I wasn't thinking about this camouflaging raptor. I was thinking like dino riders, where they like put armaments on dinosaurs and they go head to head like brontosauruses with lasers and stuff. But if like the raptors are anything like the movie, if we made them to that kind of scale, unlike what they are in real life, they could do some damage, because you had guys with guns and automatic weapons, and they took them out pretty swiftly. Even Robert Muldoon, which was pretty well versed in hunting and trapping, right?
You know what? And now that I'm really walking it through, with the way science exists today, let's say we find that raptor, we clone it, and it does end up being 3.5 feet tall and have feathers, right? Who's to say, with our understanding of the genome, that we just can't turn that thing into whatever we want anyway?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we already turn normal 1-pound chickens into 7-pound super chickens. We turn cows into these 700-pound Goliaths.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we do that to dinosaurs, right? I mean,
it's entirely possible. If we could clone the dinosaur, we could definitely change its DNA.
Exactly. I mean, and that's now, I guess that's what they did. They filled the blanks with frogs. So
Yep.
He was ahead of his time. This is where we're at.
And I think in the sequels, they added a couple other things in the mixture too, and that's how it got its camouflage feature and some other kind of feature that it had. There's a couple different animals that they put in there. So I think then it becomes that kind of we can really modify this thing how we want it to. But that's what they tried to do in the first Jurassic Park anyway, was they put that frog DNA, but they made them all female so that they wouldn't mate.
Yeah.
But what they kind of glossed over was the fact that frog was able to change its sex.
Was that life will find a way?
Life finds a way. Oh, Ian Malcolm. Such a great man. There's a statue of Jeff Goldblum. I can't remember what country it is.
As Malcolm? Because that would be great too. But
if it's as Malcolm, he should be laying down with his shirt open.
Faster.
Oh, man. And yeah.
Must go faster.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for another pour too.
Yes, I'm trying to. I didn't mean to take that much ice. Normally
go for it.
Yeah,
it's all you. I'm gonna stick neat.
Oh, he's such a fancy guy.
I figure why not? I will need that later though. Thank you. So you get to talking and your cigar goes out. Okay. So give me a couple more of your ideas on it. Because obviously you've thought long and hard on this.
Yeah, obviously.
I want you to shoot off.
It's pretty much all I think about, I think. right this moment. No, I think it's an interesting concept. Personally, I think you have to. Like if I was to run it to its end,
it's our duty.
It's our duty to move it forward because it's not going to be the only one. You're not going to stop it forever. Let's say you are stopping it forever. What are you really doing? Like
delaying the inevitable?
You're delaying a fear of the unknown. That's essentially what you're doing. Like, yes, what we know about the dinosaurs is that they're large beasts. All right? We know and we don't really know, right? We estimate, right? And we use some scientific knowledge to guess on their patterns, their behaviors, their knowledge, intellect, everything like that. But in all reality, you really have to run a line of how poorly this thing is going to go to get to an end result where we aren't able to manifest some sort of deterrent for the eventuality, right? We're going to have wild dinosaurs. That's going to be a thing. Can we manifest something to alter that direction, right? Can we at least supplement for that? Do we have a way to keep humanity safe and still have that? I'm just looking at alternatives and saying, yes, this reality can happen, but why does it have to be the dystopia that we're assuming?
Well, I think they kind of planned for that in Jurassic Park anyway by having them on an island, right? So
right, yeah.
Away from the general public.
Yep.
They're on an island. Didn't they have some kind of kill switch in them too? Like they only had a certain lifespan? Am I wrong?
Yeah, they very well could have.
Okay.
Yeah, something about the plants. Oh yeah, no, that was it. They had a vitamin deficiency, and so if they didn't get enough of the certain vitamin from the food, they would die. But
Life
the
finds a way.
vitamin was available in the plants that the herbivores ate, and of course the carnivores ate the herbivores, and therefore everybody got the nutrient that they were supposed to be deficient of in order to survive. Again, yes, life finds a way. We only adapt to the future.
I think we need to consider this too. Is the dinosaurs survived millions of years. Humankind has not been around millions of years.
That's fair.
And that's only because we're
a fair point.
At this point in our existence, right? Ooh. We haven't had a chance to survive millions of years, right?
So there is that thought too, is that we And fair enough, I haven't looked at the science. I guess it's 100% fair to always assume that they didn't live side by side. I haven't seen any cave paintings that would assume that. Mm-hmm. So could we
live side by side?
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like we assume because the dinosaurs are bigger, they would take over, but we're controlling that.
I think though at the time that they did live, there was more O2 in the atmosphere. That's what made the plants and animals grow to that size. I could be wrong.
No, I actually remember hearing something like that too, but I'm going to be honest, it was it was from a creationist history thing that I at one time
but
considered.
I heard it too, so I think there's some validity there.
Well, the concept was, essentially because the O2 was, and reptiles never stop growing, and so if you had that sort of O2 concentration, the ability to grow would be so much more dynamic, and of course, like you would have so much longer life. So you would essentially be an unlimited growing reptile, which would put you as a dinosaur. Yeah.
Dude, but just think about that. So they lived millions of years and only got better and better and better. Their evolution made them continuously change and made the lesser dinosaurs
I don't know
that
how much better they are. I mean, they're not here and we are.
Well, that is true. Because actually, I saw somewhere that
us and cockroaches.
Yeah, right. Well, crocodiles too.
Oh, that's true.
Crocodiles,
Yeah, those are
some birds.
Yeah, those are some strong bitches. We gotta watch out for those.
Yeah, I know, right?
The age of the crocodile is nigh. Reptile people.
Crikey!
Oh, it's all making sense.
Yeah, the crocodiles and alligators, man. Can you imagine that? They've been around since that time.
Yeah,
That's nuts. I don't know how much they've changed since that time.
No,
Can you imagine if we still had Megalodon?
I think we do still have Megalodon.
Really?
Dude, think about it. So I think the way that they have it set up right now, and I could be wrong. In fact, I think it's worth a look up real quick. Because I'm sure your audience would be frustrated if we were to give them inaccurate information.
Yeah, look it up. Where do you think Megalodon exists? In like the Mariana Trench or something? Someplace
what I do want to look up is how much ocean is unexplored. So hold on.
I think
ocean
there's a
is
good amount.
unexplored, Google?
According to Vice, approximately 5% of the ocean has been discovered, which leaves 95% of the ocean unexplored.
Okay, so yeah.
So 95%. Dude, we know more about outer space than we do about the ocean. The dinosaurs aren't even...
we don't know that much about outer space,
The dinosaurs
right?
aren't even gone. They could just be underwater and we wouldn't even know it. We're just literally just finding the ones that died and that their skeletons happened to be underwater during the flood. And now we're on land.
5%. And you got to think about how much of what's the percentage of
That's
the
made
Earth?
up. I don't know that. I was just tangenting.
But what percentage of the Earth is covered in water? It's a
It's
large amount, right?
It's 70%.
70%.
Like of the surface area. But because the depth of it, you're looking at 95% unexplored. 95%.
Who's the Jacques Cousteau of this era?
Oh, James Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
South Park will tell you all about that. He's also raising the moral bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need another. Well, James Cameron is awesome, but I don't think he's like Jacques Cousteau cool. We need like a more Steve Zissou type guy.
I agree with you. I think Elon Musk is that type of character, but unfortunately he's so preoccupied with the sky, which, by the way, is a fascinating concept. I don't know if you saw
he
this.
is, but he's also occupied with the underground too. He's trying to get that fast rail going.
Yeah, but he did it as like a freaking joke, man. Like, did you see that Elon Musk? Like, I mean, you saw that interview. Like, he's like, "Oh, I'm mad at traffic. I wonder. I wish we could just. Why don't we do this in the ground? Let's just play around with that." And then he just did it, and it's working, but it doesn't seem to be like his. Like, that's not his bread and butter. Like, his bread and butter, his exploration of Mars, his brain connection. Which, did you hear that story?
Yeah, the Neuralink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you hear why he did it?
No,
this will.
I heard him talk a little bit about it, but
So-
he's so scared of AI that I think it's really weird.
That is what I love. That is what I love. So this is what I think is so interesting, right? So he's a fatalistic guy, and if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about the fatalistic nature of the world, and a lot of that reasoning being the failure for us to react to AI, right? AI has gotten to a point where because we couldn't put safeguards in place, robots were going to basically see us as not necessary. So, in that, like, he literally runs into a fatalistic problem of AI is going to destroy us. And so he creates the solution to the problem he created in his head. Which was, I need a neural transplant to help link the communication between AI and us. I need a robotic insert to help bridge that gap so that we can communicate with AI so that they don't destroy us.
Okay. So, and the way that he sold it to the public was it's going to help you hear if you're deaf.
Yes.
It's going to help you in your daily life.
Everything. It will do everything. It is
pretty much.
Jesus as an insert.
Yes.
It is Jesus as an insert. If you
But
watch that...
his underlying cause was to combat AI taking over.
Yes.
That's brilliant. I love it.
I mean, he solves a problem. And here's the thing, like, I understand, like, the fun thing is that as somebody who's witnessed a whole generation, like, just hate having to move into smartphones, right? Like, our parents hated this. And then even us to a lesser degree.
Do your parents love it now?
They all use it. They all use it. And you can see what's going to happen over the next 10 and 20 years is all of our kids in 20 years are all going to have these Neuralinks.
Mm-hmm.
These surgically implanted devices into your brain.
Do you want one?
I'm terrified of the ding.
Yeah.
Like, in listening to these scientists, like, the capabilities to write information into your brain is essentially creating memories. So, I mean, I don't...
Like a Strange Days type thing where you can you upload other people's memories if they're created?
You can recreate your own memories. You can write new memories. You can do recreations. Like, do
you really want to relive your memories?
No. So, have you seen the Black Mirror episode?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, dude. So this is like, I mean, and he's saying it. He's literally saying it out loud. He's talking about some of the things that this thing is going to be able to do, and then one of the audience members says, are you going to be able to essentially record your memories, and so have a hard drive database inside of your brain that allows you access
now
to
do you just
these memories, and that's exactly
do you just
like
turn
Black
it on
Mirror.
like your phone, like if you were recording a video, you press record, or is it always going?
So let's take the hypothetical, right? But because the access point is available, right? Because the ability to write, to store, to manipulate the communication between electronic hard drives and the human brain, it changes our world. Like that concept, the ability, because now you now have the ability to literally write. You can write into somebody else's brain, and there's just something that feels different about that than psychological manipulation. And we argue in advertising that yes, we are led in that already, but there's a difference.
You really don't need to watch The Social Dilemma.
I've already done it.
Did you?
And it's great, but terrifying.
Terrifying as hell. Yeah. If you guys are. If you have Netflix, watch that because it's very,
amazing,
very terrifying, especially being a parent.
Yeah,
because if you didn't grow up with it, it wasn't affecting you as much, but it's going to affect your kids.
And as somebody who is in the tech field, my kids will not have a cell phone.
Yeah, I don't want my kids.
No,
my daughter asked for one. And I said, no way. No.
I'm going to try to
She wanted to be on YouTube. Like, can we make YouTube videos? I was like, no.
Yeah,
No.
It's a tough play, man. It's a tough thing. Mm-hmm. This is the way, yeah. And then what do, right? Because you're, like, people neglect, they think that there's just two parents, but there's three parents, right? There's mom, there's dad, and there's society. And as much as mom and dad have authority, society is honestly always there. Culture is always there, playing its evil eye, right? None of us instinctually added, unspeakable to my daughter's life, right? She's 9 years old, and yet she comes home from school and darn it if unspeakable isn't all she can talk about and watch and everything like that. And we had to shut YouTube off.
Yeah.
But we didn't even realize what it was. And it's not a bad thing necessarily, but I don't like what was necessarily happening, right? But you have a cultural influence that you're constantly in dynamic shift with. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how much say we have over it.
And it's weird because us growing up, we didn't have the internet.
No.
And then now our kids have the internet, so it's really weird because they have access to all this stuff, and a lot of it's really cool, and a lot of it's not nefarious at all, or I don't know, bad, just so to speak. But there's also like too much knowledge that you don't need right now or for your age.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have been given a wealth of information
but that's why we love it as adults.
And a scarcity of wisdom.
That's why we love it as adults. Because anytime, remember when you had a debate, right? And you thought you were right and that other person thought they were right about whatever, right? And you had no decider until one day you eventually, and now you can pull out your phone and you can say, you're wrong.
It's a different
here's the
world.
answer right here, right?
But here's what I think is unreal, right? that used to be a thing, right? And then we shifted. And in our microcosm of back and forth, we had that. But at a grander level to the social media or the social dilemma issue, all they did was flood the entire thing with fake news. And so the stuff that really impacted all of a sudden became very confusing. And so people now couldn't make their own stuff because they ran into...
I thought that was really interesting about it, too. And like I said...
But just our ability to find our own information, which is, it kind of goes back to your point. It's like, oh, I can just prove it.
Yeah.
But now it seems like a lot of our conversations are, I'm going to find my resource and you find your resource. So
my version of the truth.
Yeah, so we can both still argue about it.
I'm just talking about, like, was this actor in this movie? And the person's like, no, they were definitely, you're like, no, I don't think they were in that movie. And then you pull up IMDb. That was like when your phone first, you could actually use the internet without being gouged by data charges or pull up some kind of decider real quick. But now it's just everybody has access to the internet at all times. So we're always learning, which I do think is great, man, because I learn a lot.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, I'm obsessed too. And I think it's amazing that all the stuff that we can do, but yes.
Wait, I want to stay on your point before you lose it, because I'm so intrigued to ask this next question.
Yeah.
So because of that, because you're right, we grew up in a generation where you had to have an argument that you necessarily couldn't solve.
Yeah, it was infuriating.
And it was infuriating.
But it was also...
It was
very rewarding to know that you were right.
Yeah, well, and when you could prove it, right?
When you could prove it, yeah.
But I do wonder, so, and just being honest here, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself, instead of maybe saying some of those things you would say out loud, because you know that a fact choice, like, is available so quickly, and as opposed to saying it out loud, instead you check your own fact before you say it?
That is a good question. That's a really good question. So I always preface, and I may be wrong. I think that's a good thing, is to preface it with, and I may be wrong, but no, I usually, if I know I'm right, I'll go full force. Like I'll be like, no, that's it, definitely.
Which is an internal risk.
Yeah, it's a risk.
It's like, it's your own internal risk. It's like, I know I could check it, but I believe enough.
Yes.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump out on this ledge.
It's your own nerdy knowledge of whatever subject that you're talking about.
Yeah,
you know?
I like that.
And you have to trust in that. And I was talking with on an episode with Bruce Bogue, we were talking about like sports stats, right? And it's just something I've never been able to keep in my head because I have so much. It's like Homer Simpson. He learns one thing and it pushes something else out. Well, that's kind of like my brain is like, I need to know what I need to keep in, and sports stats I can't keep in my head because it's just way too much. I'd rather have other cool stats or other cool factoids and stuff like that in my head.
It doesn't meet your realm of importance.
It doesn't. I like sports, but knowing everything about each individual player and their whole history just doesn't do it for me.
He probably plays more fantasy sports than you.
I think that it's good to have knowledge and retain that knowledge. And maybe it is a crutch, though, now that we have the world at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, it's very nice to know that if you have a thought, that you can go online and you can find it right away.
Yes. Well,
like you can, but you go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Which I love. I mean, but again, like, so we talk about, I inherit. So let me ask a second question.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break your rule, but I think that this is a good question.
Yeah, lay it on me.
So I bought a game from Denmark. Mm-hmm. But instead of being like a me versus you game, it's a conversational game.
Okay.
It has just different questions, that kind of stem conversations. And one of the questions that came up was, do you believe that people are inherently selfish or kind?
That's a good one.
I thought so as well.
Yeah.
I would love to have this question with you.
Okay.
So if I was to ask you that question, sir, what would your response be?
Do I believe that people are inherently selfish or kind? That is a good question. It's a loaded question. Right?
So I don't know. I guess the question is the question. It is only as loaded as you think it is. Mm-hmm. So how much unpacking do you want to do? And I'll be honest, I'm not really going anywhere. So as much as unpacking as we want to do, you can always edit this away. But
let's keep it real. All right. I think it's a little bit of both. I think because humans are so complex, it's a little both. Because you have to think about it. No matter how advanced we are, we still have an animal brain, man. We still resort back to our animalistic nature of wants and needs. So if you think about that, like we need to eat, we need to propagate to survive. We need to be a part of a community to survive, correct? We need to have water and sustenance, all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking at it from the point of, are we kind or selfish? I think it's a little bit of both, because we are selfish. No matter who you are, how kind you are, there is a little bit of selfishness in there. Because...
Could I rephrase the question for you?
Yes.
You're standing in front of two doors.
Uh-huh.
One says kindness.
Uh-huh.
The other one says selfish.
Okay.
This doesn't allow you to walk through a middle door.
It's too black and white, man.
No, this is the nature of the question. The question was not to walk the middle road.
Is this on the card as well?
The question,
is
yes.
This on the card?
Yes,
okay.
because it is asking one or the other.
Because they know you can't answer that.
I would
that
love
main question.
no, because it breaks. It's a very interesting psychological question. You are right. It is loaded.
It's totally loaded. It is so. It's like the most loaded question ever.
It should be. It's a conversational question.
It is. This must be a tough game to play with family.
Yes. It was a poor choice.
Yeah, right?
But great for right now.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Is it time?
Yeah, it's time. I see it's falling off a little bit. Just kind of roll it around. He's ashing the cigar here, so
yeah,
that's
I'm
what
learning.
We're talking about. He's learning.
Hashtag
It's good,
learning.
right?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, it's so good with this whiskey.
Oh, and that, yes.
I know.
Yes.
It's nice and
Continue
nice
to
and
pay the
mellow.
large conglomerate because this whiskey is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. This is a really good whiskey. Oh, but
And
you know,
I
wait, hold
love
on.
this cigar.
We're gonna sidetrack for 1 second. We never got into your what you said about Kirkland, which everybody should know about the Kirkland brand.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
That's what
okay.
I was hoping you'd get to it earlier.
So
but
this is the insight. This is the money. Sorry, I don't know if this is PG-13.
You can say whatever you want
Yeah,
here.
I was gonna say this is the money shot. This is
Yeah.
what you come for. I didn't mean another one.
double in time, John. You love it.
No, so in that Reddit article where I found this fantastic whiskey, I learned something from one of the comments, and so I can't confirm, but I looked up some extra marketing afterward and found some other stories that kind of mimic this. So the thing about Kirkland brand is Costco goes to high-end brands, so top-selling brands, and then says, hey, we would like to make you the Kirkland brand. The Costco brand, essentially. But what's so interesting is that they have the marketing and they have all of the numbers to show when they go in. If your product is also made as the Kirkland product, they will put it next to the Kirkland product, and then you will be paid on both the Kirkland product and your sales of your product will also go up, and they have the numbers to prove this out.
Super smart.
Oh, it's genius. And then this is where it gets even better. So they see those numbers and they see, obviously, right, that I want to make the Kirkland brand because why wouldn't you? And then they argue only one point. The one stipulation with a Kirkland brand is it must be in one way, some way, generally a way that Kirkland or Costco already figures, it must be better than their current existing product. Now, whether that means slightly better in proof or better in quality, extra filtering, more from a volume versus cost perspective. In some way, it must be 1% better.
But cost-wise, better.
Well, and the cost is, I think, an extra feature of it, but Kirkland has, or Costco has all authority over the cost of those.
Oh, okay.
But the concept is, from a quality standpoint, it must be argumentatively 1% better, which made me a believer in the Kirkland products. And here's the thing. Since then, I have bought a lot of Kirkland products, and I've been very happy. And again, I'm not a huge pro-conglomerate guy, but I will say I do appreciate at least them attempting to make a valuable product associated to the brand.
Yes. Well,
'Cause
again,
Sam's Club does not do the same thing.
But those type of places, I mean, as a family, you're not going to get everything there, but some things you definitely need to get there. Like,
100%.
You have to.
Yeah.
If you have a couple kids, it's a must. I think for $22, this Scotch whiskey is phenomenal. Like, it's really good. I'm drinking it neat, so I'm drinking like straight up, and it is really good. And not that I have much comparison, so other people who are, Scotch connoisseurs might laugh at my opinion of it, but I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're
and I think that the clothes that they sell are actually pretty good too.
yeah, well, you can't lose, And I mean, if you're a college kid just looking for a good value on alcohol, if you're a divorcee down on his luck, if you're a 74-year-old man who's just lost in a 45-year-old marriage, this is just the perfect whiskey for you.
It really is.
Trying to cover all of our bases there.
Hey, remember those wings that I got that I cooked up the other day? Those were Costco party wings.
Of course they were.
Yeah,
they were phenomenal.
They were.
Yeah.
I mean, the rub is what made it good, but it was the value of the whole pack that made it worth it. Dude, I didn't have to cut them up.
Oh, dude, if you ever get those, they got the legs, and they'll sell them. There's like, I don't know, 26 of them.
I know.
And we'll cook all of them. And
I know.
they're fantastic.
All the way. And they got ribs. And they got
it's all good. Yeah. I tell you, if a zombie apocalypse, that's the first place I'm taking over. Just Costco.
You'll be good for a long time.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, by the way, okay, you were talking about Black Mirror. What's his name? Charlie Brooker? That's the guy who created the show?
I mean, that sounds like a name.
Okay. He did this show that, because I haven't watched much Black Mirror, that's why I didn't know what you were talking about, and I really should. I've watched a couple episodes, but I haven't really dived into it, but I should.
Yeah, if you're even slightly afraid of the future, watch this thing and we'll just enjoy paranoia for what it is.
He created this show called Dead Set. It's the most interesting premises, right?
I do not know this show.
Oh, it's on Netflix. You got to watch it. And I know you're not a horror guy.
No, I'm not.
And here's the thing. I'm reaching out to people that have horror podcasts because I want to talk to some people that run a horror podcast, and we can talk about in October some our horror movie picks and stuff, and just why horror is so great. So I want you to listen to that, because I tried to tell you not too long ago why, but I really couldn't get it. I need some professionals, I love horror, but I really can't just
to articulate.
I can't articulate how much I love it. Anyway, this is a really cool show. So it takes place, Big Brother, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the TV show Big Brother, not the 1984 Big Brother.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm more familiar with the TV show than 1984.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure you're referring to Orson Welles.
All right. Okay. All right. So the British Big Brother, right? This takes place during the filming of Big Brother in Britain, and it's an episode of Big Brother where they're doing the eviction, right? Is where they make a cut of a person and evict them from the household, right? So it's that day. So it's like a very important day for the ratings.
Okay.
Is the same day that a zombie apocalypse breaks out. And it is fucking awesome. Like, it is so cool. Okay. I am a George Romero zombie fan. I like the slow-moving zombies, but I also really like, it took me a while, but I like fast-moving zombies just because there's really nothing you can do. Like you are.
You know what?
you're
I
toast.
actually have become, because I'm not a fan of horror. I would continue to say that, but zombie movies do have a certain appeal, and
Because they're us.
in a very similar situation. For whatever reason, man, like 28 Days Later, really, I thought was an interesting movie. I actually kind of liked it.
Okay, you know what's funny? They're not zombies.
Oh, you're right. I guess they're infected humans,
So they're still alive.
which I like that concept more. Like, I think it's more real.
But I think that really kind of set the bar for the new zombie, though, because
Yeah. Like
If
World
you- if
War
you-
Z zombies.
yeah, and okay, I have a lot of problems with the World War Z movie,
Okay.
but the book is phenomenal. The book is the George Romero zombie, and it's really really cool. The movie's not terrible, but
How do you feel about Zombie Land?
Zombieland is great.
Okay.
That's the Romero. Well, no, there are kind of fast moving zombies in there.
And
But
for
it
a-
is kind of the Romero zombie, but I think it's more like
For our audience
Mm-hmm.
and also for me, could you define
the Romero zombie.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Romero zombie is the zombie archetype, right? Okay. So hold on, let me let me smoke this cigar before let me pull on the cigar before it goes out. Because I just
And if I could articulate, so in my head, as a novice in zombies, I'm thinking of two main zombies, right? You get your like Frankenstein type zombie,
Yeah.
which is your slow moving, arms out, Dawn of the Dead. And then you got your 28 Days Later, right? You're scary, infected, fast moving. Like,
Yeah.
so those are the two I have in my mind. Now, if there's a third, I'm unaware, but tell me what the Romero is.
All right, there is a third. Hold on, I'm still trying to pull on this thing, but all right. There we go. Okay. So the Romero zombie. So the Romero zombie began with Night of the Living Dead. And Night of the Living Dead kind of kicked off the zombie craze. Like there were zombie movies before that, but that was the one that made it all happen. That is the one that if you watch Walking Dead, that's the Romero zombie.
I've never seen Walking Dead.
Okay. The first couple seasons are actually really good.
I've heard it's a great show.
It is, and I don't know, it just kind of fell apart for me. But I could really go down the trail on this whole thing because I respect it a lot too. Because one of the coolest dudes, Greg Nicotero, directs and he does the special effects for that movie. And Greg Nicotero actually got his start in Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
So okay. Let me go back here. Okay, Night of the Living Dead, shot in black and white, very low budget film, was a phenomenon when it came out, right? And it created this zombie craze. So that is your typical slow moving zombie. They're dead. They've been bitten by another zombie. They're a live person that has been bitten by another zombie, or they're already dead. And then just by some unknown phenomenon, they have resurrected from the dead. So there are in Night of the Living Dead, there's a couple different things on the news that they watch. Like there was like a space radiation, right? There's no definitive reason, but there's theories, right? And that kind of carries over into the other George Romero movies thereafter. Is that nobody knows why, but it is what it is. It's happening, right? So by Dawn of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead is my favorite zombie movie of all time. And by Dawn of the Dead, the zombies, you find out that even though they're dead and they're slow moving and stuff, they still retain a little bit of their previous life.
Human quality.
Yeah, like they know how to use tools basically. They flock to this mall because it's something that was important in their life. They don't know why.
They flock to the what?
They flock to a mall.
Oh, okay.
It takes place in a mall. It's great. And
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I was like 12.
yeah, and Dawn of the Dead was remade by Zack Snyder, who Zack Snyder did the Justice League, and he did Superman, Man of Steel,
I did not watch the remake.
and he did Watchmen. which was really cool.
Yeah, I'd like to rewatch that one.
Yeah, very nice. So, but he did his zombies as fast-moving zombies. So where I was getting with 20 Days Later was 20 Days Later, even though they're not zombies, they're actually still living, but they're just infected. But it was really cool because I think it kind of kicked things up a little bit. And a lot of people thereafter were making zombies as fast-moving zombies, right? George Romero's idea of the zombie was because they're dead, their bodies start to decay, and they're starting to go through rigor mortis, so they're a lot slower.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So what was the scariest part about the zombie was you think that you're okay because they're so slow moving, but where you're wrong is when they gang up on you in numbers, right? So you think you can get away from this easily, and then you kind of get cocky about it, and you get overrun. And the other thing was human psychology with the zombies was if your family members turn into zombies.
This is fascinating.
It's so fascinating. And this is why I really love them, because
you're adding a whole new perspective that's actually is, because that was the thing that annoyed me most about those things, is they were so easy to walk away from. And I really didn't dive into it. But this concept is genius.
Yes. Tom Savini, who did the special effects on Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
It's a perfect metaphor for climate change.
Oh, actually, and here's the other thing. So Dawn of the Dead, each kind of subsequent movie kind of had a little bit of satire to it. Like, so Night of the Living Dead was a satire of, like, I guess coming out of the Vietnam War. And Dawn of the Dead was a satire on consumerism. So it took place in a mall. And, like, one of the questions posed by the characters was like, why are they here? And they're like, this was an important place to them. So they just came there. They had no reason to come there. They didn't know why they were coming there. They just came there because that was something that they did.
Wait,
right?
So who said that?
This was a character called Peter, played by Ken Faree.
So in the movie?
In the movie.
They actually say this was a place that was important to them.
It was a place that was important to them.
I love that.
It was great. It was such a pivotal line in the movie. He also has another really cool line that...
this is a place that's important to them.
Yeah.
I love it.
He had another cool line that it was when the dead walk, or when there's no more hell, or sorry, we've been drinking. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. So it was a really great line, because there also is that kind of people do think that they're being punished, right? But here's the thing. So people would get overconfident that I can survive this, but and those were the people that actually survived. The initial people that died in the zombie apocalypse were the people that had family members who had turned. They were bitten, or they had died recently for whatever reason, and they came back, and they couldn't accept the fact that they were dead, or that they were going to die, and that they had to take them out, because if they didn't destroy the brain, they would get up and they would walk again, and they would attack them. You know, that was their source, or that was their main motivation. It was just sustenance, food. And not like they're eating because they need to eat to survive. It's not like they're alive. It's just some kind of animalistic part of the brain that's taking over, that's causing them to do this. So that's the crazy part about this. So a lot of people in the initial kind of outbreak died because family members or friends, people they cared about, had turned, and they didn't have the will to take them out in time, right? And then the people that survived were the people that had got through that for whatever reason, and then they got a little bit extra cocky about, they're so slow, we can get by them. And actually, in Dawn of the Dead, or sorry, in Night of the Living Dead, 1990, the one that Tom Savini, who did the effects for the original Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, he did his remake of Night of the Living Dead, and one of the characters makes an observation in there that they're so slow, like we can get by them easily. And that's true when they're in small numbers, but they just keep on growing. So that was what really fascinated me about George Romero's zombies. But then you have this new zombie that's just like super fast, like they're just running at you, right? And that's your remake of Dawn of the Dead and a lot of other more current zombie movies, like the Korean zombie movies, like Train to Busan. And there's a new one called Alive, #Alive. Really cool. They're just like, there's no way to survive this thing. They're just too fast because instantly they just come after you. So I found this show called Dead Set, and it is the fast-moving zombie. So it moves so fast. So, like, imagine on the TV right now, they're in the studio. They're trying to produce this episode of the eviction of a major cast member of the Big Brother show. And on the TV, they're seeing that there's riots going on in Britain, but they're thinking like, they're just riots. Like, you know, this is going to impact our show. Like, this isn't really something to be concerned about. This happens all the time, and it's just going to impact our show.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate ratings competitor.
Yes, exactly. So they're not really paying attention to it, but it hits, and it just hits so fast that everything is screwed. And all that's left are the people that are the contestants of this show. And they actually have a pretty cool place to like set up and survive in. And it's a limited series, so it's only like 5 episodes because, you know, the British series are always shorter than Americans. Just kind of run everything into the ground. The British, they know when to end things, like The Office and Extras is really good too.
No, I agree. Black Mirror was a British show.
Mm-hmm. Charlie Brooker, he created Dead Set. So
and I can't recommend Black Mirror enough. Like, it's terrifying, but I think at this stage, what isn't? So I mean, you might as well have yourself a good watch.
But here's the other thing: you got to have this view of fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, so to go full circle, right? And I painted you into a corner, and I apologize, but I was very intrigued.
I love it. Painting me into a corner.
No,
Let
like
me fight my way out.
Because I'm gonna go back into that because we moved.
Do you want to try the Woodford real quick
Of
before we get into it?
Of course we will.
Okay,
Why not?
grab the Woodford. Let's get going. So I got recommended
I'm sorry,
Woodford.
let me know when you need to kick me out.
No, we're going all the way here. This is this is bourbon, so this is the American whiskey. And I'm recommending this because this got recommended to me. And I'm going to actually try the double oak because I got recommended that too. Okay.
No, so I love the concept of forcing somebody to walk through this door of the kindness or the selfish door. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing.
Walk me through the door.
Here's the thing. I agree with you wholeheartedly that we are. Oh, let's continue.
Cheers.
All right. So, thankfully I didn't open that. So I agree wholeheartedly that I think it is both. However, if I had to walk through the door, and so what made me intrigued about this conversation was more and more people that I talked to, I kept getting the answer, selfish. Push comes to shove, I force you through a door, inherently selfish. And the reasoning for that I thought was strongest, if I was to give the alternate view, is, look, if it's my family versus your family, right, and there's only so much food. This is what I kept hearing, is I got to make sure my kid eats, man. And I'm sorry.
All the way.
But, like, that's the way it runs. So,
again,
I feel that answer. I do. But here is my concept. I don't think that's our inherent nature. I think that's our forced nature.
You think so?
Because here's the thing. Rick, what would you say are you most excited about right now? If you had to recommend one thing to me.
That's good. That's something I ask other people. I don't really get asked much myself. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, well, I only offer.
I would say Dead Set just because I just watched it.
Or oh yeah, right. So Dead Set, right?
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing though. when people like something, the very nature of what you're recommending is in and of itself an unselfish act.
Okay, I like that.
Anything that we find an exciting thing, something that stimulates us, something that provides growth, something that provides a new character, insight, something that provided something to you that was valuable enough that you couldn't help but share. And that concept provides you to unselfishly recommend that at no extrinsic value of your own, other than to make sure somebody might be able to share the same joy that you had.
Yes. That's why I'm doing this.
And in that, you are inherently kind. You aren't inherently selfish. Selfishness comes because of fear. And fear, unfortunately, because the concept behind selfishness is that there's not enough.
Yep.
But that's not an inherent need. And I think that is an inherent need that we started with, right? So to your point, the animal nature of if there is one steak, that I must have that steak instead of you is an animal survival of the fittest nature. And I would say that in this movement over the last 15 years towards consciousness is a unity movement. And that is our inherent nature at this point, is a movement towards our unity, and to say if there is one steak, we are better together if we share that steak than if I was to eat it alone. No matter the size of that steak, we're better together.
I think so all the way.
And in that, we are not selfish, but we are kind.
I think, yes, in our evolution as human beings, we, as far as getting away from our animalistic nature, we've kind of put it in check a little bit. And that's the whole part of the community thing. You know, we want to be accepted in our community. We want to help our communities.
We want to help.
We do. Now, is there not selfishness in that? There's a little bit.
Agreed. I think that's the devil inside of us.
Yeah.
But I think that is not our nature.
Yeah.
I think the fact that our society maintains, that it moves forward, that it consistently provides less racism, it provides more kindness, more unity, I think is a perfect movement. We are not perfect, but we are better than we were.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I mean, even though we're divided by so much, I think we are a lot better, because even though we are divided, people are still helping people.
Well, and that's the real question, right? How divided are we? Right?
You're only as divided as you think you are.
Well, and we're only as divided as we're told.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Because we're as divided as the media tells us. Right? I mean, we have 99% of the things that we like, but if we're told to really hate the 1% of differences, then we're going to hate the 1% of differences.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it, you know? It's like we all want the same thing. And can I tangent just briefly?
Go for it. Tangent all the way.
If it gets really bad. But like, I don't laugh, but like, I do find it comedic, cruel irony at how unbelievably aggressive the two sides fight over abortion. Because everybody agrees babies shouldn't die. Like, we're just arguing about how. And like, if we could just really have a good conversation about maybe what we can do to stop it, we can stop demonizing the other side. But we're told to demonize the other side. We're told the other people want, you know, like full death or things like that. But no, they want this drives me nuts. Like for instance, like there's this concept that somehow moms want to give up their kids. Right? Like, I've never met a mom who wants to give up their kid. Most of the time, they're terrified of the situation. They're terrified they don't have the money. They're terrified they don't have the economic stability. They're terrified that mothers aren't treated with respect. If we paid moms like we paid engineers, I guarantee there wouldn't be a single abortion in this world. So how much do people really care about abortion? Right? I care enough not to stop, but I don't want to pay for it. Like, that's the thing. Right? So it's like, it's this weird thing that if we really cared, like, I imagine if you paid for the education and paid for the well-being of the children that you had in your own society, abortion would almost completely giveaway. Why in the world would a mom want to give away their kid other than they didn't see value in it? And that's on us, society. That has nothing to do with an individual. That's the society has put no value in the human baby.
Yeah, but I think that's a deeper thing too, because, and I think we're experiencing this a lot in COVID times too. And I know you know this because we're both parents here with teachers.
Yeah,
like teachers kind of want to give up because there's just so much changing, and they're not getting paid enough.
Not
but
even close.
But they're so kind that they want to continue this endeavor to teach the kids, but they don't know if it's safe or if it's not safe. And it was already hard enough being a teacher anyway, but then you throw this in there.
Yeah, they're already underpaid. And unfortunately, like
But they're the most valuable people in our society.
Well, and that's like, right.
Or
That's
one of them.
That's a
more
perfect
valuable.
stipulation of how the media treats it, right? When this happened in March, teachers were treated like saints. And now, if you jump on the social media sites, the ones who are nervous about not getting back into the schools, not getting back into, like, you either have teachers who feel so inundated with guilt that they want to possibly endanger themselves in order to make sure that they're there with the children, or they're taking on this undue risk, not being paid any actual hazard pay or, anything extra additional. And now the media is demonizing them if they're not going out there. So it's just interesting to see the way that the news really dictates the things we pay attention to.
Yeah. And this is my recommendation for you, Graham. And I've said it before, because remember before this whole thing went down, we talked about this. And I think it's just like, it's so infuriating to watch the news. And especially that's why I wanted to make this whole thing not about.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't even mean to go there.
By this whole, no. It's fine because we need to talk about it. But the whole reason why I wanted to kind of shy away from religion and politics in this podcast is because I want people to find great things and find interesting things and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I think that's just so infuriating is both of those topics, because either way, there's just no right answer.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things you can't find any joy in, because everybody has their take on it. But if you're talking about just things that we love as humans to do or to think about that aren't associated with those two topics, we're much better off.
Oh, you know what?
we have much an easier time in our life.
And it's a hard. For me, it's a hard balance, because you risk, like, you're right, the joy of not paying attention, the joy of not making it your problem.
Yes.
And that's, like, personally, I found that in meditation, the ability to separate myself and just focus.
I want you to talk about this, because I will give you this floor right now. Because I'm so hardline that I don't want those two topics discussed, but I want you, for everybody else out there, to talk about what makes life easier for you to not dwell on either of those two topics.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Full connection. Because you're right. It's an overwhelming topic.
It really is.
Everything is overwhelming right now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the way social media has this impacted is we feel like this desire to be a part of it, to stand up, and yet at the same time, it's emotionally draining.
Totally.
Dude, I mean, depression is rampant right now. And so it's like, okay, what do you do with that? And that's where, like, in my search and and I consider myself I perform. Like, that's what I do. And in this time, I haven't been able to. And it's been debilitating. And I've had to, unfortunately, face a lot of inner demons I can generally outperform. And so it's been interesting. But, it's like, okay, if you aren't, if you aren't the best, right? Or let's say you're constantly the best. But every time you're the best, every time you beat somebody, it's always, okay, what now? What now? Because it's never as good as you think it's going to be. And so essentially I got into this point where you're like, okay, well, there has to be something more. And I got into meditation, and I started...
Beat somebody in what?
Everything. Like, I mean, let's say a game, let's say a sales competition, let's say like you win, right? So let's say you're in a sales competition and you win. Okay? The 1 month. It feels great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Next month, everybody wants to beat you, right? Fair enough. You win again. Okay? That's great. You feel even better. You win again. You win again. And you win again. You stop feeling good about winning.
So are you like...
You start getting to
Are you
a
like
point,
the Joker where you're like, if there's no Batman, what's the point?
at some point, you get to the point where you understand winning is not what it's about. And that's the whole piece of it. And that's where this is where, so thankfully with meditation, that's what meditation is for me.
What do you do to meditate?
It's really, so for me, it was breathing. So let me take a step back, right? So let's just take a look at the brain, because I've been fascinating with the brain. That is the biggest recommendation I would say I have over anything. So because of YouTube, right, we have access to an insane amount of information, to the best lectures, the best scientists in the last 75 years, and we get to just sit down at our computer and literally just take it in. And that was the big thing, is what I found fascinating was the yogis of Tibet. And so yogis of Tibet, because of a forced genocide right after World War II, forced into out of Tibet, and then because there were so few of them, forced to share some of the things that they had. And so if you were to take all of the amazing things, imagine if we had man, right? 15,000 years ago. Boom, I got man. We're growing. We have a brain shift. We gain the frontal cortex. We're moving through society. As the West shift, we moved into Socrates, the Greeks, and then we take on full science, right? And we, for the last 1,500 years, obsess about science. And everything becomes Western civilization, about how we understand gravity and physics and mathematics. Well, the yogis...
Wait, why is it Western, though?
That's just the Western shift. So there were two shifts.
Because that didn't happen in the West.
The concept, if I was to give you a background, is I think most societies all believe Africa was pretty much the land where
the cradle.
Society, yes, the cradle of the earth, right? The Eden, if you will. And so man pushed off. Well, the yogis, those particular Homo sapiens, ended up in a very treacherous mountain geographic area, okay? And there wasn't the same resources available to have the same Western type science. And so instead of focusing on 1,500 years of Western science and understanding the physical realm, they focused on 1,500 years of understanding the internal, understanding your breathing mechanisms, understanding the science, understanding chakras, understanding all that stuff. And what it actually is breathing mechanisms in your brain and how it works. And so that was one thing I understood. And so in doing simple breathing mechanisms, I actually started to learn, this allows you to focus on little things. So I would do stuff like simple, one of the guys I can't recommend enough, and this he will blow your mind. He's the best recommendation I can ever offer. His name is Wim Hof, WIMHOF. And just understanding his breathing mechanisms and how it can change your mental philosophies is awesome.
Have you taken cold showers?
Oh, yeah. In fact,
what do you think of it?
So it was part of my my whole health transformation. So I'm down 115 pounds, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And his cold showers was a direct attribute of part of my transition, part of understanding how the brain works, how the body works, how it treats health.
How long can you stay in a cold shower?
Infinitely.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I tried. It's hard.
I actually went up to
water.
Lake Superior last year and swam. It was 52 degrees, and I swam for an hour and a half. The first 15 minutes was debilitating, and the last hour was amazing. I did not want to leave. It was incredible, and it really gives you an entirely different sense of what medical science, as much as we know about the body, we don't know shit.
We really don't.
That was what was really
Or
revealing.
we do, but we don't.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, it's that whole nature of seeking you should find. You know, it's like whatever you focus on, that's where you're going to be able to deep dive, and you can keep deep diving as much as you want. And that's essentially like what we're seeing. So like that's what I started doing was I started to do some Wim Hof breathing, and then that really transitioned into just understanding there's a beauty in understanding the moment, right? Because everything else is a narrative. Like what you're planning on doing in the future and what's happened in the past is all a narrative. Because you don't understand the people. Like the only thing you see is your perception. So like the people you interacted with, the sales you had, the people you spoke with, even your wife and your kids, you don't understand their perspective. You understand your perspective of their intention. And so really the only thing you're really seeing is your life in this exact moment. And so when you look at it, like there's a beauty is like, why would you do this to yourself of doing anything other than enjoying the exact moment you're in? Like, don't do it. There's no reason for you to focus on anything else other than just purely enjoying the moment you're in. And that speaks to like really going to what humans are supposed to do. And we forget all this other stuff and we become anxiety about what the future is going to hold because we think we have to maintain this nature of who we're supposed to be. But who we're supposed to be is right here. Like this moment, this concept, this embracing is the focus. And so doing that with my kids, right? Being intentional with that conversation, being intentional with the conversations I'm having with my friends and family. I don't care as much about the other stuff anymore. And that has been a key to meditation.
So meditation is the way to do that. Because it's hard. We have to just block out everything else.
Instead of blocking it out, I can't stress this enough, the breathing thing, and I know it sounds stupid because it's Western brain trying to understand an Eastern concept. And so this very nature of like breathing sounds stupid. But moving from, and for your listeners, if I was to give you a tangible, like real world example, okay? In the West, your modern breathing pattern probably is a 2-second pattern that doesn't have any breaths that go
just all chest.
Beyond 6 inches below, your throat, right? All of your breathing is here.
Chest.
But just moving from a 2-second breath to a 4-second breath, moving into a diaphragm breath and causing yourself to be forced to breathe in for 4 to 6 seconds and then breathing out for 4 to 6 seconds.
And that's putting your hand on your stomach.
Yep.
And allowing your stomach to kind of fill up like a balloon.
Yes. And if you were to do that as opposed to, like, if you were to say, I want my stomach to move before my chest moves, okay? And you start breathing like that. And you fill your stomach before you fill your chest. And then if you want, you could, after you fill your chest, you fill your head. And then you breathe it all out. And you give yourself a second. And again, Wim Hof is a brilliant one. Sadhguru has some amazing meditations. There's some really decent ones. And there's a ton out there. But the concept that I lived with for 35 years or 33 years was...
Wait, you forgot how old you were?
Yeah, for a minute. or my transition over the last 2 years. Was the West was right. And I knew, like, I was taking on as much Western knowledge as I could.
Why did you think the West was right?
Because we grew up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the right way. And the concept that somebody else knew something that could be right, it was arrogance.
Pure arrogance.
It's pure arrogance. And I had to break, right? You had to get to a standpoint where you go, oh, what if everything I did, all the winning, all, like, everything that was, didn't get me to a point of happiness? What the hell was the point?
And what is happiness?
The moment.
That's right.
If you can't be happy in the moment, what the fuck was the point?
That's right. And that's the hardest thing about, I don't know if it's living in the West, but I think it's just living in general, because this isn't a Western problem. This is other countries deal with it too.
It actually
beyond.
is more of a Western problem. This is a fun thing. And it became a serious problem in China and Japan when they started to take on the capitalistic Western culture.
I know, but I'm saying that's why I don't think it's just purely a Western problem. I think because a lot of people are taking it on. It's like...
You're right. You're 100% right. Because if they had already found the path,
Yeah.
why would they have taken this on?
Because they had it all along. They had it for so long.
So I'll give you two pieces.
But even we're talking about the West, like the West across the Atlantic. But even in Europe,
Yeah.
same thing. I would think we're not too far apart from urine.
Well, we're not. I
said
mean, we're
urine.
70% water. Urine's like 99% water. You're right.
No, I would say the Eastern philosophies are more the Asian countries, and it's funny because my wife is from Nepal, so she would be considered the more Eastern philosophies because they have the the religion is totally different, and
Sorry.
no, it's great. But I think it's a problem worldwide that we don't get away. And I'll tell you this. So I used to smoke a lot of weed. And I've told you this many times. And right before the pandemic hit was the last time that I smoked weed again after like a long time.
Yes.
And it was with you.
Yes.
And we were...
I will be the devil's gateway here. That's fine.
No, but what was really... what I really took away from that experience was kind of related to what we're talking about right now is, I don't know, it was funny because the reason why I don't smoke anymore is because I don't feel as productive. It's because I kind of like movies. Movies and music is definitely different. Not smoking weed, and I haven't smoked weed like every day in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I did really love it a lot, but some things I did miss were like movies and music. But what I thought was really cool, and I was always weird around kids when I smoked weed.
Oh, okay.
But last time when we smoked weed together,
Yeah.
my daughter, because she was up at the time, we were all hanging out, and
I don't know if you want this on the podcast.
no, I do. No, it's funny because
I mean, it is legal and it's recreational.
no,
so
especially in Michigan.
Same as having a drink.
In Michigan, it's recreational now, so we're all good. I picked her up, and like I kind of like when you take your kid up, like you're flying them.
Yes.
And I picked her up, and she was flying, and that was like a great from her feedback of me picking her up, and she was just loving it, and she's like, "I'm flying, Daddy," and like at the time she's 5 years old, she's enjoying it, she's loving it. And at that moment, that was one of those pure moments where a father connects with his daughter.
Yes.
And it was just such a beautiful moment.
Preach.
Yeah. But I think about those moments outside of that moment where I was perfectly content in the moment, and I was so like, this is such a beautiful, great moment. And then I think of my life like not high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like thinking about what's going on, what else is up, you think about work and you think about all this stuff, and really, what the fuck does that matter?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you're talking about with the Wim Hof breathing method is like, or just kind of meditation in general is you're kind of shucking off all that stuff and you're getting back to the real human, the core of the human, right?
Yes.
So what you're saying right now really resonates with me because I think back to that moment, and that was the last time that I smoked weed, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, that was such a pure, great moment where none of that shit mattered.
Yes.
Daily life, all the things that we think are important, that pure moment where you're connecting with your kid. Not to say that I haven't had pure connection moments with my kids since then.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that was like a really pure connection moment where, from what you're talking about, like the breathing, the kind of getting back to the center, like I think that is really important. That we as people, we care, even though we don't want to, we care about this bullshit that really doesn't matter,
Well, and it's so tricky because it doesn't matter, but they're so good at it because they're allowed to make you emotionally connected, and they know how the brain works, and they know.
And who are you talking about here?
Like when we talk about the divide, when we talk about these other things that we care about, when we talk about social media. And not to resonate, but to go back to that connection. And I don't want to deviate into weed, but I think it is fair because
okay.
I think
a lot of people smoke weed.
I look at weed as training wheels. Because it takes.
But if they're training wheels, you have to take them off at some point.
Yes, I agree. Because the thing about weed is it allows you to alter your consciousness slightly to start looking at yourself as not always right.
I think it's a good start. Definitely.
It
definitely.
Yeah, it takes
that
you.
mushrooms will.
You will
definitely
think
your consciousness to a whole another level.
And you want to look at it as a tool. So this is an interesting thing. There's a Netflix documentary right now called Unwell. Just watched a couple of episodes. Unfortunately,
have
I think
you done mushrooms?
I have not. Have
you done any kind of psychedelics?
No. But I'm open to them as a tool. However, what you'll notice, and this is interesting, is right. There's two different ways of knowledge, right? There's experience and there's insight. And so experience allows you to learn firsthand. But the problem with learning firsthand sometimes is you deal a terrific amount in pain. And so in that pain, you learn, but unfortunately the emotional connection that you have to that learning can taint a lot of what you're supposed to learn. And so the ability to have insight allows you to learn from other people. And so my whole concept with weed is, unfortunately, when you grow up in a culture, you take on that culture's identity, right? That third parent I was speaking to. That culture that undermines a lot of who you are. Okay? So in the West, we're a very competitive culture. We're a very capitalistic culture. We're a driven culture that thinks if you maintain and if you are the best and if you strive the hardest, then you will be the greatest, right? And you will be successful. And so we strive for success. And so we go into that framework because that's the framework that our culture has built. And just this simple concept of taking in, like for me, right? I didn't have weed for 33 years. And I won a lot. Like I won everything. I was a state champion in chess. We were the same in bowling, state champion in sales, national champion in sales, moved companies in sales. And it got to a point where winning is worthless because when you win all the time, all you're worried about is you have so many people ready to get you. And as soon as you have so many people up against you, then you're like, why am I even doing this? Because as soon as I fall, everybody's going to be ready for it, right? Anything that I'm doing well is going to be demonized. So there is no, all you're doing is setting yourself up to be a bigger enemy, right? The Batman saying is true. You die a hero or you live long enough to become an enemy. And that's a very true nature, and that's because that's a striving to self. And anything that strives to self strives to demise. And so if you strive to giving, if you strive to kindness, then you don't have to worry about any of that. And that's what I realize is like if our nature is in kindness, if our nature is in that, then we allow ourselves to be in the moment because we're not so worried about selfishness.
But don't you think though that there's people that are like, oh, Mother Teresa, oh, she's such a goody two shoes.
Oh, 100%. In fact, there are documentaries about how terrible Mother Teresa is. That journalists went to Mother Teresa's shelters in India and found some of the most squalid conditions. And there's two ways you can look at that. Tony Robbins went to India and was amazed and confused because there was nothing but squalid conditions, and the people were so happy. Now, coming from a Western tradition, the concept that you could be happy
that's our
living,
Western brain, right?
That's our Western brain. The concept that we could live in squalor and be happy is not something that we see as fit because our Western tradition mandates success is in where you live and what schools and the area that you are and how you are treating your kids. So the idea of you living in a squalid position immediately puts you in a situation that would be deplorable. But that conversation doesn't exist in India, and so the mentality of it doesn't exist. It's just very interesting because we pretend like everything around us is striving around what we do comparative to everyone else. And when we switch over to what if everything that we're doing matters to the moment that we're in, then I could care less about whatever else is happening. And so that's where I get the mandate or the ability to love the moment I'm in, but still have to move back into a moment where I have to care about others, right? Where I have to choose to care about something maybe beyond myself. And so to your point, I don't want to find stuff that's politicizing, but
well, that's a duality though. But I guess for other people out there, is like I can totally agree with you there, but for other people out there is how do you separate the two?
Yeah. And I don't. A lot of people agree with compartmentalizing. I've never been one that could do it. The concept of like you can be this person at work and then come home and be this person at home, or somehow break that down. I've never been that capability. I think you have to be authentic in who you are.
Is it harder to work from home and be two people?
I never could be two people. I find it far too difficult.
Because a lot of people are working from home right now.
Yeah.
And they're at home. Like who you are at the office or who you are at your job, and then you come home. People can make that change when they leave, right?
And I agree with that, but I also agree because that is also like the personality shifts around the people you're around, right? Because at all times, the household, the industry, the business, it's not just one person and another person and another person. It's an organism, right? When you go into work, your attitude that you experience with your customers is a direct reflection on possibly the conversations you had with your coworkers, with your boss, with your loved ones. So like that just introduces this concept is like you are this organism, right? So being authentic in who you are, I think it stops a lot of psychological issues. Because if I have to...
Because you're a very authentic guy, but also you're working from home. So it's hard because you're not going into an environment. You're coming from you were out traveling as a part of your job.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So your scenery would change every day.
Yes.
Your experience would change every day.
Yes.
A lot of people, they would go into an office, and we're just talking about right now. This isn't every
my
day.
job is completely different. Like it's a completely different job.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I have the exact same job.
You have the exact same job, but you're just not going out and doing what you did before.
Yeah.
and you're at home. So you're not changing your scenery, you're not changing your environment.
I like where you're going here.
Yeah. So, and I think this is very important for right now, because it kind of is important that our jobs that we go out and do, that we leave our home, we leave our family, and we go out into our jobs. And we're kind of, when we go to those jobs, we're different people a little bit.
Yeah. No, I absolutely see that. Yes.
But then when we come home, we're maybe either that true self, or depending on your home situation, a version that you think you should be, right? So being that you're working at home and you're dealing in the home environment, it's like I think it makes it much harder for some people to differentiate who you are from your projected self, you know? And then I think especially when you have kids, it's harder to work from home too, you know, because you have to deal with that as well. But
I agree with you. But the only thing that I would say is the manifestation of two selves is dangerous. And so what I would only articulate there is you are dealing with different personalities, right? So like you as a father internally has a different representation as you as a salesman.
Because I think people do separate themselves as the salesman and as the father.
Yes, and I agree people do that. I just think it's a poor decision.
I think it is too.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So this is where we get back to, and I'm gonna go down the road, but
go down that fucking road, man.
As somebody who has had a good amount, like a enough success to speak from an area of knowledge, I can tell you that speaking from an area of authenticity means, in a sales mentality, right? From a capitalistic kind of mentality, we got into this like salesman culture where people are nervous to trust the things they hear, right?
All the way, because I've done sales for a long time.
You might even look into psychological manipulation because you want to understand.
Do you like sales? Really? Nobody's judging you here.
I have done nothing but sales for 15 years.
Do you like it? Or is it just something you do?
So here's the upside. I love sales.
Why?
Because I changed the... You're going to steal... I don't know if this is something I want to say. I'm writing a book right now. So I'll give you a little bit. But essentially, there is a concept inside of, I think, capitalism that is wrong, and that is the separation of these two concepts. The salesperson has to be different. Somehow you have to be manipulative.
I think so too.
In order to be successful. And unfortunately, that's because the psychological game got ahead of the empathy game. We understood the advertising skill sets and the psychological tools before we ever understood what the empathetic viewpoints would create, what building a culture of non-trust would do to a sales market. And so my concept is, what if you went to the job and instead of having to push necessarily the thing that they were telling you to sell, believe 100%. It's the only way you can do it. Is if I have to sell you a product, I have to believe 100% in that product. So I'm going to go out, find out what the competitors are, and if I have something in here that's inferior, I'm going to find something in here that's superior. Now, the thing about sales, hopefully if you get that job, is that you have at least one product you believe in. For the love of God, sell that product. Don't sell a product you don't believe in. Because every time you do it, you break your integrity. And you can't survive in a job that constantly that mandates that you change who you are as an identity. Because if you are forced to break apart who you are as an authentic person into who I am as a salesperson and who I am as a person, you're breaking something that should not have been broken. But the capitalist market, in order to be successful, maintains you need to take on those roles, and that maintains a flexible morality.
But do you find that as a person who believes in your product, do you believe that you're more successful in selling that product than a person that doesn't believe in that product but is just good at hitting the selling points?
So here's where I'm going to give you all the pieces here. Why not?
Come on, man. Do
they're
it.
free.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the reticular activating system?
Yes. The
Right.
RAS, man.
Yes.
You know, RAS is a big part of, I think I talked to you a little bit about this, but we haven't really got into this. But the RAS, reticular activating system, is a big part. And I sound ridiculous, and I know it. I know it. I fucking know it. But the RAS is a big part of, I believe in the law of attraction.
It's a part of everything. Mm-hmm. Like, and
It sounds so stupid to say.
no, it is, and this is the thing. The more scientific research you do into it,
Yeah, come on, give it. Do
the
it.
more you will find the reticular activating system is possibly the biggest contributor to, and I'm not talking bullshit. Like, when I learned about it,
You looked into the law of attraction?
I worked for a Fortune 5 company, and I was the 0.01% sales reps. They sent me to Paris.
How is Paris?
It's gorgeous. It's so overpriced. Gorgeous. But here's the thing, like, the reticular activating system is the reason I had success, because it changed my entire like the way I looked at it. Because if instead of looking at problems, so the reticular activating system,
explain it for everybody.
For anybody, is if I was to give you a real world insight and I had you close, like, for the next 10 seconds, I'd like to look around the room and look for everything in the room that you can that's blue. Okay, look for blue, look for blue, look for blue. You've got 10. All right, keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. All right, 5, 4, 3.
We're looking
2,
at my Honda Civic right
1.
now
I
because
see
we're in the
nothing but
garage.
blue in this room, so it makes it super easy. Then you're gonna close your eyes. All right. And after you close your eyes, you're going to try to give me a list of 10 things that are red. And the ridiculous thing is that you know that there are red things in this room, but for the life of you with those eyes closed, you know that you can't necessarily bring up nearly as many things that are red as that are blue. And the reason is that's because that's what you were looking for. And no matter what, in all aspects of life, we will find what we are looking for. And so that doesn't just happen with colors. That happens with new lines. That happens with activations. It happens with sales. It happens with your loved ones.
It happens for if you think that life is shit, you're going to find that life is shit.
Exactly.
If you think that things are not going right, or if your body is not going to heal itself because of whatever debilitating illness you have,
Yep.
that is it. That shall be.
Because as Tony Robbins would say, your body and your mind is a servo mechanism, and if you give it a target, it will find the target. And so if you ask your body and your mind why you have such a shitty life, it will create answers as to why you have a shitty life. Mm-hmm. So do yourself a favor and start asking yourself why you have such an amazing life.
That is right. That is the most truth right there.
It will change your life.
It really will, because a lot of people, and I think we're not even talking about media here, because media is a whole different thing. But I think it's the human condition to look for what is wrong in life. It's just easier to look for what is right.
And we're problem solvers, so it's fair. It's part of our engineering. It's why we love what we love. But to do it ad nausea, to do it where you think life is against you, you become the victim. But when life happens for you, it changes the entire game. And then you start looking at your life differently. And then all of a sudden, the things that happen to you become the motivation for your success. There's a real world principle that I heard once, and I think I learned it from a monk. But your greatest purpose is in turning around your greatest suffering.
Do you give thanks every day?
Oh man, let me just throw another one at you. Let me throw you my favorites. So I started doing this meditation, right? Mm-hmm. But the first thing I started with is a thing called priming. YouTube it. It's Tony Robbins, priming. It'll change your life. And it's 15 minutes. And what you do is you spend 15 minutes in a called Breath of Fire. It's a yogic breathing mechanism. And while doing that, you then move into a state of gratitude. And in doing that, you take on the breathing mechanism with a state of gratitude, and you take on compassion. And then you start to take on some of this yogic energy. And it's just a very interesting piece, but what you're really doing, despite any religious or cultural mandate, is you're allowing your mind to chemically work for you.
Yeah, and I think we should really make the distinction here that this is separate from culturally or religiously, whatever you believe.
It's just a mindset. Mm-hmm. Down to its roots. All you're talking about is your psychology.
And what does Tony Robbins say about this?
It's the number one thing you can do to start your day.
Okay. So how do you start your morning?
All right. So starting my morning with meditation and priming has been a big deal. Especially for COVID time, man. Like, COVID time just fucked everything up. So, I was doing the Wim Hof breathing. I was actually doing it with sauna. So to kind of give you an idea, in this whole 115-pound drop and escapade, one of the things I took on was I was doing a daily, I was going sauna for 10 minutes, and then I was doing 10 minutes of pure ice shower. So where I would just go, turn the shower to as cold as physically possible, and then just stand with it against my forehead and against my chest. And then I would just cycle that every day for 3 days.
How long did it take you to actually get your body used to doing that? Because it's hard. I can tell you from personal experience.
About 3 days.
3 days? Okay.
But, and I will tell you this. Your mind is insane. It's your brain is the most valuable thing that anyone could ever think that you have. And what I mean in that is the big concept for me, and anybody who does this, if you go outside, your brain instinctually takes cold and exhibits pain. Okay? It exhibits extremes as pain. And what you need to do is jump that. And this is where we go beyond the survival of the fittest. Beyond.
So you're just saying fuck you, body.
You don't even have to. You get to go beyond it, and you get to outthink it, because you get to understand the cold water is not an attack. It's not fight or flight. And that's what your brain does. When it gets into cold water, it goes, this is an attack. I need to get out of here. But cold water is not an attack. It's cold water. And it's not going to hurt you, and it's not going to do damage to you. And it is instinctually nothing but a cold experience. And that simple psychology shift removes a lot of the pain. And then you start to do the breathing. And then you start to understand, wait a second, have you ever been hungry, forgotten to eat, and then not been hungry anymore? You ever had a headache and then hit your thumb, and then all of a sudden you don't have a headache anymore because your fucking thumb hurts?
Have you ever seen...
Because your brain can allocate where your pain is.
Have you ever seen Major Pain?
Yes.
let me give you something to take your mind off that pain.
Yes. It's exactly that same concept. Your brain has so much more power. Nobody realizes that the medical nature of painkillers, right, is to find these drugs that dull pain in our brain without realizing there's two pieces to this puzzle, okay? The chemical that we're giving to the brain has to have an input, okay? So just like an auxiliary cord, you have a male and a female receptor. That's how it is with every cell. And so in order to give you a chemical, I have to have a receptor that takes on that chemical. The thing that we miss is that any chemical that we're giving from the outside that we're creating from the West, like creating in medicine, is the only reason we have a receptor is because our brains are able to create that same chemical inside our brain. That's why we have a receptor for it. That's why our brains are built that way. So so the reason weed affects us is because we have a cannabinoid receptor. We were built with it. And so in a lot of ways, that cannabinoid receptor can be created even in our brain through chemical reactions. That's called the placebo effect. And it's a very real thing. And so it's just articulating some of the placebo ideas that we have and articulating them in more of a scientific approach.
So how do you get that feeling that you smoked if you didn't smoke?
Smoke, when it really dies down to it, is stress relief, right? Maybe unity, connection, relief. If I could connect to you, if I could connect to the world, if I just looked at me and you as the same, if we weren't different, then I would really view everything as an organic gratitude. In that, you wouldn't really need to change your state. The only reason we need drugs is to change our state. Drugs, cigarettes, like food, cigars, alcohol, weed, it's all doing the same thing, right? We're all trying to get out of our state. But what happens if you love your state? That's the natural thing. Everything that is out there is an adheval of your state. So the concept is, how do you get back to a natural state you love? And that's where you have to understand the culture has shifted us.
I think so, all the way. You gotta find the way. I mean, I know we're going off topic here because I asked you, like, what's your morning routine?
Yeah, you were ready for that one. How about that?
But no, for real. I mean,
yeah, well,
maybe it's just escapism.
A little bit. Yeah, maybe, right? But I think it's proven.
But
because what's the alternative?
Yeah.
And the alternative has already been proven out.
But nothing's wrong with escapism.
No. We're all looking for it.
Yeah. I love watching movies.
Exactly.
Playing video games. I don't get to play as much as I'd like to, but, you know.
You know what I did the other morning?
Huh.
So I did my priming, and then I did my slower meditation right after that. And I was, again, in priming, you're dealing with gratitude and just being thankful for the moments that you have, and you're really reflecting on the things that have gone well in your life. Both those serendipitous and, of course, those things that you've planned.
What does your gratitude consist of?
So you pick some big things, you pick some little things, right?
Okay,
so,
give me some examples.
Yeah, so my favorite memory, I think to date, was just like the one that's most recent, the ones that holds the most emotional appeal to me right now is we were at Lake Michigan a couple weeks ago and took all three of my kids, and I was just sitting on the beach. And then I was watching all three of them just jump the waves, right? And they're 4, 7, and 9, and they were all just playing together and having a blast and just jumping into the waves. And I was just like, there are a few moments in life that truly personify like everything that make me happy. And I was just like watching my kids just purely enjoying that moment was so simplistic. And I was like, I don't know what else in life I would want, like, other than this moment. And so it's like, the thing with materials is they depreciate, right? So experiences appreciate. Experiences are your memories, and your memories are the things that hold value, because those are the things that don't have the ability, which is exactly, it is that thing. It's don't let the things here depreciate. Focus on the things that appreciate and value. And so I try to think about that. I think about the birth of my daughter, and then I think about something simple, right? Something that I couldn't have done on my own. Something that was just a very, very simplistic in nature. Sometimes it's the rain. Sometimes it's a thunderstorm. I love thunderstorms.
Yeah.
But it's something that no matter what, if I had zero money, I could be thankful for thunderstorms.
That's true.
That concept kind of shifts your whole mentality, because if you're thankful, you can't be fearful. Like, that's the secret. Like, anytime you focus on fear, you lose gratitude. Anytime you focus on gratitude, you lose fear.
Well, and that's why they say, particularly a big one for a lot of people, is money, right? So they say when you're fearful that you're not making enough, or you're wondering where the money's coming from, you're just creating a lack of money in yourself, because that fear brings on the fact that you're so focused on it that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And to your reticular activating system, right? If you're constantly fearful about if I don't have enough money, then what am I doing? I'm looking for ways to cut back. I'm looking for ways to be okay when the inevitable happens. I'm not looking for ways to grow. I'm not looking ways to supplement. I'm not looking for I'm looking at where the bad things are going to happen from.
Yeah.
And it
all
changes
way.
the mentality.
I think so. Every day I give gratitude myself. And it seems weird, I think, if you don't do it. But when you do it, it doesn't seem so weird. But some of the things I give gratitude to are same things every day, but then you always kind of add a little bit, like if something recent happened. But I think it's very important that you do because you recognize the things that you are truly grateful for. And you talk about Western culture, and I think in Western culture, we got our eye on the prize, but we miss the little things that we're truly thankful for. You know, for my daily things that are in there every single day are I'm thankful for this house. I'm thankful for the fresh, clean running water, electricity, the internet, the food that we have access to, and then there's always new things that are on there. Particularly we had an experience or something, thank you for that experience. And part of the RAS system, I think they said was, you can say, you talked about the color blue, noticing the color blue and then not noticing every other color. But if you look at objects around you that you wouldn't think about otherwise, think about the chairs that we're sitting in. Thank you for this chair that we're sitting in that allows me to sit and be comfortable. Thank you for the toaster, stupid stuff that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
Normally.
And you're right. It's choosing to think about it.
Yeah. Focusing on it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really what it is. Because even down to our foremost poverty, anybody who's in poverty in America still generally has running water. They still generally have, some sort of safe accommodations away from scary wilderness, which still puts them infinitely ahead of where they were 300 years ago. However, we are constantly a relation of where we are comparatively.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, you take on the psychological stress. And that is built into that third parent of culture, right? And so no matter what, our fears are built around our culture, not necessarily our environment.
Yeah, I think so. You need to be thankful of the things that you have, not the things that you don't have. A lot of people are more concerned with what they don't have, and in a way that creates a stress for you. That I don't have it.
Yeah. And there's a dangerous
and
line
then
there, right?
It will never come.
Because they use it for competitive edge, right?
Yeah.
They think that by looking at those who have, it creates in me an additional incentive to push myself beyond. And to a degree, I think we do see that in a competitive environment. I don't know if it's great. I appreciate the concept that we better ourselves through competition, but I do wonder if a conversation around unity wouldn't drive things even more.
It's funny. I was just thinking about this. To get back to our original thought of how this all kicked off, right?
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the Stegosaurus. I don't know about you, but Stegosaurus was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
Okay.
I don't know what it was about.
Something about herbivores never got me, man. I was always more of a carnivore guy.
Yeah, well, I love the carnivores. But the Stegosaurus I thought was cool because, they had the 3 horns, right?
Yeah.
And they had that big fucking bone thing behind their horns.
So now I'm starting to think maybe you mean the Triceratops.
What was I saying?
Stegosaurus.
Oh, I was.
Don't worry, we'll edit it in post-op.
and post-op. Oh, whiskey. I love it. Yeah.
Triceratops.
Triceratops.
Yes.
Okay, so
So the Triceratops was an herbivore who wasn't afraid to put up against those carnivores.
Yeah. Stegosaurus is really cool.
Nope.
Don't get me
Triceratops
wrong.
is even cooler.
Triceratops. Okay. Triceratops.
Making me the dinosaur geek. Thanks.
Yes. All right. Whiskey. Anyway, the Triceratops. So something interesting I learned about the Triceratops that I didn't learn as a kid was, okay, so what I liked about the Triceratops as a kid, 3 horns, had a big bony plate behind its horns, right? So that's to like protect itself and everything. But what was cool about what I find interesting as an adult learning more about the Triceratops was that plate behind the horns, right?
Yes.
So you think of it as this kind of a shield, right?
Yes.
As a kid.
Yes.
You know?
It is a shield. It's a great shield, yeah.
It is a great shield, but it's something more. They're saying that shield was a plumage, like a sexual billboard.
Oh, the plume. Okay, yeah. Oh, shit.
So
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a peacock.
Yeah, peacock. That's okay. That makes perfect sense.
So they found in the bone like little like valleys, like if there was a river, you know.
Okay.
So like little riverways where blood would flow, and they believe that blood would flow through there when they were trying to mate, right? And it would make it like bright red.
Interesting.
And make it appealing to their mate. And then they would fight their competition for their mate.
Yeah.
And this kind of dance like bulls, right? So they would have this very intricate dance of where they would fight, and they would prove their validity to their mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this concept, and I think it really speaks to how our survival of the fittest mentality kind of has moved. And like, because what you're really talking is like, at its base, right, what our survival mechanisms have done have given us the ability to do 2 main things, which is like we find ways to become sexually appealing.
Yeah.
And we find ways to eat. Like those 2 things are manifest to survival of the fittest.
Do you think on a animalistic level that you with your wife did that dance?
I think there is absolutely a pheromone, chemical, evolutionary perspective that puts people in place that we are not fully understanding. You know, that there are pieces in place that go on beyond our understanding that put people together. So, yeah, I think in that respect, and I would argue only because, again, we were so young, right? So we didn't even have a lot of life experiences to go on. We were dealing almost intensely on pheromone and chemical imbalances and things like that. So I would say that that's probably even a more truest imagining of it. But
yeah, but think all animals are not old as get out when they mate. You know, they're pretty young.
Yeah, they're all young. I mean,
so
that's when you're most likely to do it. And I think that speaks to, because we aren't a separate piece, right? We are a changing piece of evolution. We are the next stage, and this is a far more intriguing topic, but I think it fits well within an evolutionary perspective. We were talking about survival of the fittest, right? And we talk about, and I think in that moment, that was when selfishness reigned, right? That is when wolf v. wolf. Mm-hmm. The movement of the frontal cortex, right? Because we have different pieces of our brain. We have a reptilian brain, essentially, that's inside before the prefrontal cortex was built. And essentially in this movement, and that concept of us building unity, I think is parallel with us moving beyond survival of the fittest being selfish. I think it's actually this movement into kindness is almost like a movement into unity. So on that flip side, though, if I think in order to keep, because we're constantly fighting our internal brain, right? We're constantly fighting this selfish nature, but we want to be kind. Well, if, as with anything in life, okay, if me and you play chess, okay, and you win 100% of the time, the game becomes boring. I don't want to play anymore, right? If I can win a little bit, maybe I want to play one a little bit more, right? You might even let me win a little bit more. But either way, if you win 100% of the time, I don't want to play anymore. If I win 100% of the time, you don't want to play anymore. Nature maintains that there must be some sort of battle. There must be some sort of play to where both sides feel a need or at least a desire or a thought process to think that they can win. And I think that's how it is with good and evil a little bit. Our selfish desires and our kindness. So we know in order to evolve, we have to seek a kindness. But we are constantly fighting our old nature. And our old nature is the selfish desire. And so in times of strife, we tend to live in our selfish desires because that's what we know. That's what's gotten us through. But in actuality, we don't need to go to what's gotten us through. We need to get to what's going to put us into the future. And so in this concept, the mind is dealing in a 70-30 type battle in which we know whether it be internally, whether it be as a population, whether it be as a universe, that we have essentially the 70-30 battle in which good is winning 70% of the time. But evil is still winning 30% of the time. Selfishness is still winning 30% of the time. And it allows us to still have this formalization to where we are moving into the statement of good, but still selfishness and desire and in the yin and yang of life, if you will, is constantly trying to battle against us and to take us back in and to move us into our selfish nature. And so that's essentially man, is our movement towards a greater good, even though we have to constantly underwhelm our selfish desires because we know that that's how we move forward as a society.
So when it comes to if we can, should we, our selfish desire is to, yes, create the dinosaurs because we want to see dinosaurs. We want to live or not live among them, but we want to have them. We want to control them. We want to have a park, or we want to say that we did it and that we made it happen. But our kind nature is that we'll go to any lengths to ensure that it is safe for people to live amongst those dinosaurs in a controlled environment.
I love where you're going with this. So to round this out into the dinosaur conversation, there will always be those who trend towards selfishness. Those who trend towards selfishness will tend towards control. Those who seek control will seek control via violence. And those who seek violence will look to weaponize those dinosaurs. On the flip side, the value of bringing that to base, the value of DNA coding, the value of understanding the genetic structures, the value in understanding what we're going to be able to do from a scientific approach and understanding how animals move forward and how we can see what's going to happen moving forward. If just science in and of itself is what we want to explore, then we hope that our good to develop medical research, to develop science as a whole, overwhelms the negative capabilities of the dinosaur. But I love the concept that what we are looking at is in and of itself, the dinosaur movement is neutral. Bringing dinosaurs back into this world is neutral. It is only what you think is going to happen to the dinosaurs that we're looking at, is what we're going to happen to society. And so this is what I think is so fascinating. It is really a conversation of do you think the world is kind or selfish? Should we bring dinosaurs into the world?
Yes. And we need to make sure that we cut out the Dennis Nedrys of the world.
You'll never be able to cut them out fully, right?
No. When it comes to dinosaurs, you need to really vet the people that you have working for you.
I think that's fair, right? That's wisdom.
But you need to go a step farther, because we were talking about that guy that can do it and make it happen, which is Henry Wu. And Henry Wu, though he started as a good dude who made it happen, Henry Wu eventually sold out.
Henry Wu is the anomaly we all can't plan for, but we all know is going to happen. Henry Wu represents that which is unplanned.
Is he jaded?
He is the Voldemort that we fear.
So he started out with a good purpose and then just got sick of it.
It is, in our science, we don't know what the end result is going to be, right? I don't think he was ever he was negligent, but was he ever evil? I don't think he was evil.
Not at first. But if you're looking at the sequels, Henry Wu.
Well, you started this podcast with intention.
Yeah.
John Hammond's intention is what you viewed. And his intention is what you wanted to focus on. You even clarified in that personality research, you needed to define the difference between the personality of John Hammond in the book and the person, because the intention was so clear. So in this moment, the intention is all that matters.
That's true.
Because you can't tell the future. And that's the real question, right? Do you fear it, or do you believe humanity will make amends?
That's a good way to end it. All right. So we're at the end here.
Yeah, I like it.
You gave your recommendation. Let's circle back to that real quick, because usually we do that at the end. What was your recommendation again?
Oh, man. As I think is necessary, the Kirkland signature Scotch is just a go-to. $22 will get you quite the evening.
Oh, yeah. We've had a great time on this Kirkland. Kirkland should pay us for this episode.
We'll get right on.
We've had a good time doing this.
Sure, they'll get right on that.
And my recommendation was Dead Set and George Romero Zombies.
I think you are. I'm supposed to mention it. If you are intrigued at some of the concepts that we're talking about, I do have a website, passingwisdom.org, in which we're starting to look at looking at other wisdoms throughout all of the world and just looking at different ideas, and just trying to use that to kind of help give us some cognizant insight into how to run the world.
And for everybody listening, Graham Allen, give us a little insight to who you are and why you started this real quick.
Oh, man. Real quick.
Give us the short version.
Yeah. I have become obsessed with understanding. I've become obsessed with understanding why we need to bury authenticity. I think there is something true in understanding the value of just who you are organically as a person, and I think that is something that every major person who dives into who you are as a person from a psychological standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, defining who you are as an authentic person matters. And so that's what we're kind of diving toward, is who are you as an authentic person? What does that mean to the world?
That's right. All right, and one more time for everybody, and I'm going to put this in the show notes as well. What's the website?
That is passingwisdom.org.
Okay. Do you have any social media like
yes,
Twitter?
We just started the Twitter, and we got the podcast going up.
Okay,
and we got
lay it on us.
So Passing Wisdom, same thing. And then so PASSINGWISDOM is the Twitter. And I don't have the Facebook yet, but we'll get that up.
Okay, what about Instagram?
I'm getting there. I don't have that yet, but hopefully by the time this launches.
All right. So I will go back and I will put once you got it, I'll put it in the show notes so everybody has it. So if you're listening right now and it's not there, come back.
Easy enough.
And Graham, I want to thank you so much. This has been a great time. We've pursued so many. We've gone.
We're all over the board.
All over the place, yes.
So, yeah.
It's been an awesome time.
Jurassic Park is really just an emotional set on who we are as a humanity. So I think that's what we really got to.
I would go a step farther and say that Steven Spielberg
Oh, nice, yes.
hits the emotional core of any human being that watches his films.
So what we're really trying to say is Steven Spielberg is life.
Yes. Michael Crichton is
That's
great.
just the Oh, I'm just kicking your...
Michael Crichton is great.
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote an amazing book that led to the movie Jurassic Park, which is the whole reason why we're having this conversation anyway. But
Yeah. So visit us at churchofspielberg.com.
now we got to make that website.
I know, yeah. Now we gotta, we can get more allegories on how Steven Spielberg has moved.
Have you ever seen what's that
film.
movie? Dude, Where's My Car? Have you ever seen that?
Only once when I was like 14.
Okay.
So I'll have to rewatch.
So they got this guy in there they call Zoltan. They're like, Zoltan.
Yes,
And
okay.
we can do that like S. We're like, Spielberg.
Spielberg. It's a beautiful thing. I love it.
So thank you so much for listening. We want to know your thoughts, and I'm gonna tag Graham in this because we want to know your thoughts, and hit us up at Always Recommend on Twitter because that would be the best way. Tell us what you think. Do you think we should create dinosaurs, or do you think we should just say screw it? It's not worth it. Go there. List your thoughts and say,
or anything else that,
yeah,
that we talked about. That,
for
you
real,
feel visceral hatred and or love that you want to share.
For real, I mean, just hit it up because we really covered and unpacked a lot in this thing.
There's so many things to attack, guys.
Yeah.
I'm really
really
excited to hear all the things that I can feel bad about.
Yeah. So either at Always Recommend or
Passing Wisdom
on Twitter.
at Twitter. Yeah.
You can do it.
Twitter.
Come on. We're looking for you. We want to hear your thoughts.
That was a beautiful thing.
Graham, thank you again so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening today. If you want more Can't Recommend Enough, you can check us out at Twitter at Always Recommend or on Instagram or Facebook at Can't Recommend Enough. Please feel free, follow us there, like stuff, go there for more recommendations, more cool stuff. Always be posting stuff and recommending all types of things. So check it out, follow, and if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and like the videos if you're listening to it on there. Also, subscribe to the podcast on the player that you're listening to, and that way you can get updated whenever a new show comes out. But you also, in the social media, get updates when new episodes drop as well. So check it out. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Have a great day.